Hello and welcome to the Temple of Tomes with your host Indie Comics Jones. Today is December 26th, 2020, and this is episode 164. We're going to take a look at Patriotika. This is number 3 in the series. It's put out by Antarctic Press during their 35 years of publication, and it comes in at a whopping $3.99. Now, I just want to mention, I believe this is part of a Kickstarter fund raiser that went on about 3 or 4 years ago. At least the first couple issues were. I'm not sure about number 3. Now, it's the change in number 3 is there's a new artist group on it. The writers are still the same, is Ron Z, and we'll take a quick look. Well, let's take a quick look at this cover. It's got some kind of rune work going on. And a little American eagle in the background for a little nice touch as we see Patriotika kind of floating through the sky in a very relaxed position. This does not really take place in this story as there's mostly just action throughout. But let's take a look inside. Okay, this is Patriotika, Chapter 3, Twilight of a God. All right. The story is by Ron Z. The art is now switched over from Antipas to Danuska Campos. And I guess this person's also doing the coloring as well on it. So we got a little bit different look to it. I've got the issue 2, so you can kind of see the difference in styles back to back. As you can see, this is more a lighter look in the coloring, and this looks to be more of a airbrush look as far as just the drawing goes. So there is quite a bit of a change. The other thing I want to mention is I'd love to see how Ron Z, what he does, how he stages his comic books, how he writes them, because issue 1 I didn't really care for. Issue 2 I did like a lot, and issue 3 I'm struggling with because it is just seems like it's just all over the place, and it's getting sillier. So I don't, and there's a lot to be said about that. Is if it's entertaining, then that's good. If it keeps you looking, that's good. It's on the silly side, this one, so maybe that's good. But yeah, as far as consistency, I'm just not seeing it in these 3 issues. Right now, it's kind of a half recommend. I'm going to stick with it another issue to see what happens. But I am enjoying the artwork in it, and the character overall, Patriotika, is an exciting read to follow here. So, that being said, we got a new character in here, and I'm drawing a blank on who she is, she is a police officer, and she has good lung capacity, just like every other female in this comic, save Erin, who's Patriotika's kind of human form, if you want to put it that way. If you recall, Erin melded with Athena, or merged, I should say, and they created one being named now Patriotika that has been helping out the U.S. troops out in the Middle East, but now they're back in the city of I think it's called New Haven, if I'm not mistaken. So we're going up against this new criminal. She's got 2 swords, Dusk and Dawn, and she is what's this, anti-G or something like that. They stand on these balls that lets them afloat in the air. And so we get a lot of action, just a lot of fighting, and it is confusing, because at one point, you're wounded, you're healing, and so what we're finding out too is we get a lot of new powers that just kind of come out of nowhere. It's hard to keep track of all these powers that Patriotika's got now, but she seems to acquire them on almost every page turn. Just seems like a lot. And we also get some pretty provocative drawing in here as well. We got like a nice squat shot there. As boy, I can't think of what her name is, but she has something to do with zero gravity. and I know her swords are Dusk and Dawn, but they're able to disarm her at least with one of the swords and then hit her with a power blast. But the villain gets the upper hand on Patriotica and sends her crashing to the ground. And then you see the anti-gravity ball strike Patriotica in the face. And then we got the character with 4 arms that comes running in, and Patriotica is able to transfer her power, if you remember that was one of her things, to this police officer to make her large again. But then we have this not a flashback, but she gets knocked kind of through a window for a moment, and she's talking with Erin, who's very small in this. She almost looks like a little child. The way she's drawn in this one compared to the first issue, where she looked more of an adult, young adult. But yeah, it's kind of confusing. Then we get back to our Egyptian gods that are back here, and you can see the silhouette of the 4-armed man. But Ramsey makes I think her name's Netafiti, gives her power and makes her huge. So everything you see on her becomes huger. Her arms, her hair, her lungs. She just becomes super giant, and knocks this other villain out. So these two aren't even working together. So there's just all this mishmash going on. So I'd love to see how Ronzi lays out this thing. Here you can see how she has gotten bigger, more muscles, more lung capacity, and she's gigantic compared to everybody else there now too. And here we see Patriotica giving the police officer a little power and making her very large too. So they're big buddies now. Now we have this other person kind of watching in the background here, and she transforms. And I am so confused at this point where these people are coming from. But they are all over the place. I read this thing like 3 times trying to figure out what's going on. And here's the person that was standing in back of her. That was the woman from this shot here. So I'm pretty sure that was her. Kept going back and forth, going, is that her? Different outfit. So she's able to knock the giant Egyptian princess out. In the meantime, they're heading back to New Haven. Is Erin's friends, and the one friend is acting very strangely. As we see her, she's holding a shotgun, and it looks like there's a worried reflection of her looking back at her in the car. So something weird's going on with her, because she tried to stab Erin at one point. She pushed her off her building. So something strange going on with this one. But they don't really let on too much about it, as Patriotica has got knocked through a portal and she's back in prehistoric times. So we were like all over the place in this comic. Like I said, it's very confusing, very silly, and very fun. And here we get a quick blurb of something called Teether that looks like a horror film or horror comic coming out soon. It says it's set for June 2021, so it's still a ways off on this thing. And this child is obviously a human flesh-eating being. So anyway, Patriotica, I'm going to stick around for at least another issue. Like I said, it's very cheesecake all the way around. Big muscles, large boobs, tight clothing. Just a lot to take in. And a story that you don't know what's going to happen next for sure. It's subverting all expectations at this point. And let's take a quick look at some of the other things Antarctica Press has to offer. Hot Valley Days, coming October 2020. I didn't see this one at the store, so I'm not sure if that one's already come out or not. And then we have some of these other things. I'm not sure if these are... yeah, these look like these might be trade, but I'm not 100% sure on those. Yeah, it looks like trade. The Trump books, Pirate Ninjas, Punchline, and the Gold Digger trade. So that's my review for Patriotika 3. I don't know if this was clear enough, but I think it's as clear as I could do compared to what I was reading in there. But I hope you enjoyed it. Please like, please subscribe, please leave comments, and we'll see you next time at the Temple of Tomes. This is Indie Comics Jones from the Temple of Tomes, as always, bidding you adieu.